Hello, my name is Indiana and I'll be taking you through the audit I conducted in the suburb that I currently live in, which is in Coombs. The purpose of this audit was to assess how walkable the local area is and identify issues in the built and natural environment to see how the local community's health, mental well-being and social well-being can be improved. Coombs was established in 2010 and is situated southwest of central Canberra. Over the past few years, Coombs has seen rapid development with growing infrastructure and population increase. According to the 2021 census, there are currently 4,854 people living in Coombs with a median age of 30 years old. The audit was conducted utilising the Heart Foundation's Walkability Checklist, which evaluates multiple domains including infrastructure, social connectedness, safety, public spaces, services, and environmental comfort. The path I took to complete the audit is shown on the map. Ignore the path that is circled by the black marker, as Google Maps has not been updated to accommodate new paths that have been installed, which can be seen outlined by the green and blue marker. I left my house and walked along John Gorton Drive down the street to Coombs Park, then to the gym and other services adjacent to Coombs Park. I then walked back along Beecroft Street to the shops on Fred Daly Avenue and finished my audit at the larger shopping hub up on Gornal Street. Starting with infrastructure, footpaths are present and generally well maintained, although the footpath leading to my front door has a step which can present issues for accessibility. The footpaths leading to the park and shops are all very wide and smooth and present no cracks, and they can also accommodate prams and wheelchairs. Additionally, there are accessibility ramps leading up to the shops and also smooth pathways leading into Coombs Park. There is partial separation from cyclists and scooters, and most crossings are safe with accessible ramps. This domain scored 3.5 out of 5 as some footpaths are not separated from bike riding, which can present a safety issue. There are pedestrian crossings, however the placement of these crossings are infrequent, requiring pedestrians to walk considerable distances along the road to reach a designated crossing point. This may increase unsafe mid-block crossing as outlined by Canberra and Mara, who highlighted that limited safe crossings are a key barrier to walkability and contribute to the sedentary lifestyle risk. This also may discourage individuals with mobility issues from walking to their desired destination to avoid prolonged walks. Overall, the footpath and road infrastructure scored well. Along my walk to Coombs Park, I noticed that there was not a lot of tree coverage. As you can see by the images, there are very large spaces without trees. This can increase the risk of heat exposure because of a lack of shade. This is particularly problematic for older adults and children. However, Coombs Park is very well shaded by lush trees, which makes the park much more desirable for visitors, particularly those of old age. John Gorton Drive, which is the main road, generates a significant amount of noise, which can negatively affect residents by increasing stress and potentially impacting sleep. As you can see in the images, the cleanliness of the area is quite moderate, but there's quite a bit of litter, which makes the area quite unattractive. Public spaces and nature scored a 2 out of 2. There are accessible parks, playgrounds and natural reserves within walking distance. The convenience of Coombs Park being within a walking distance to shops on either side makes it not only desirable for all walks of life, but promotes social, mental and physical well-being. Whenever I walk past the park, there are always a group of individuals spending time together and enjoying a meal together, thus highlighting the importance of community spaces for those to come together and fulfill their social needs. However, I did notice there are 2 very steep set of stairs as an entry path into the park. There are flat entryways for those who need wheelchair or pram access, but it makes it difficult when you need to walk a longer distance to access the park. When completing my audit, I noticed there are no public toilets nor are there water fountains. You can only access toilets or drinking water when you enter a business. This inconvenience can be frustrating for many people and may discourage them from walking longer distances, especially families with children, older adults, or anyone who might need regular hydration or bathroom breaks. Recommendations would be to install water fountains and public toilets to address these issues. Access to green space has well-documented mental health and physical activity benefits and promotes mental well-being, social interaction, and stress reduction. It encourages regular walking, contributing to lower rates of depression and anxiety. Just a short walk from Coombs Park is a shopping hub. One of the strengths of Coombs is access to essential services, as there are 2 retail and service hubs within 850 metres of each other. On Gornal Street is the main shopping hub, with a dentist, chemist, Indian supermarket, local cafe, Woolworths Metro, Aldi and a hairdresser. This offers locals access to not only essential services, but personal services such as a barber and a hairdresser. Additionally, the inclusion of an Indian supermarket enhances cultural diversity and provides residents with an access to culturally diverse foods. This not only supports the dietary needs of diverse community members, but it also fosters community identity and social inclusion. A study by House and colleagues highlights how access to culturally appropriate food options supports cultural identity, nutrition, and dietary satisfaction, which are important aspects of well-being, particularly in multicultural communities. Also, just recently, an Aldi opened which provides a more affordable grocery shop for residents, as Woolworths Metro can be quite costly. Then just a walk down the road on Woodbury Avenue, there's a Club Lime gym, an early learning centre, chemist, dentist, and a veterinary clinic. This variety of walkable destinations scored at 3 out of 3, as having access to this many services within a kilometre of each other is priceless. Public transport scored a 2 out of 2, as frequent and reliable bus services connect Coombs to the city centre and multiple suburbs. Bus stops are within reasonable walking distance for most residents, and most provide shelter and a seat, providing comfort and shade during inclement weather. The R10 and 66 bus lines allow people to travel to Woden, Coolman Court, and Civic with frequent stops, which helps reduce reliance on private vehicles, particularly for school hours, as traffic can become quite congested. Whilst these destinations may be desired by the majority, the bus routes are not very extensive, as they only cover a few suburbs. Some environmental concerns were observed, as you can see in the images, such that litter was strewn across the ground at the bus stop and surrounding areas. This may affect perceived safety and the attractiveness of public transport facilities. The perception of a clean and safe transit environment are important for encouraging individuals to engage in regular use, particularly among vulnerable populations such as older adults and individuals without access to private vehicles. To prevent litter at bus stops, it would be beneficial to incorporate public bins within the vicinity. Despite this, the ability to access public transport has been associated with improved access to healthcare, education, social connections, and employment, contributing to health equity. Traffic and safety scored a 1 out of 2. Whilst I felt safe walking around the area, there is some concern for the main road with high-speed traffic and the lack of pedestrian crossings. As I mentioned in earlier slides, there is considerable distance between pedestrian crossings, leading individuals having to walk longer distances or engaging in unsafe behaviours such as mid-block crossing. To avoid mid-cross blocking, the addition of more pedestrian crossings would be beneficial. As for the quieter streets, I noticed there were children crossing flags to notify drivers of foot traffic and children crossing. However, the placement of one of the flags is obscured by the tree, making it difficult for drivers to see as they round to the corner, which heightens the risk of an accident occurring. Better placement of the flags or more signage to warn drivers of an imminent crossing would help parents feel more at ease with the knowledge that there is adequate precautions notifying drivers of vulnerable people crossing. As for safety at night, there was adequate lighting along the main street and the back streets, which made me feel safe when conducting my audit of the area. Street furniture and facilities scored a 2.5 out of 6, as the area provides some supportive infrastructure that promotes the comfort and length of walking trips, such as public seating, rest areas, and adequate street lighting. Signage for directions were mostly adequate to assist pedestrians in navigating the area. However, the reason for the low score is that there was very limited bin coverage on the audit path, such that there were only bins outside of businesses, but there were no public bins outside of the shopping hub. There was one private toilet that you could access if you were eating at the business, but overall there were no public toilets on my audit path. Additionally, there were no water fountains to get a drink from. This can be quite frustrating for older populations and individuals who need quick access due to gastrointestinal conditions. A study conducted by Anja Nielsen highlights the role of insufficient access to public toilets and how this can impact individuals suffering from gastrointestinal problems, leading to a lack of participation in social activities. Whilst Coombs has many services available to individuals, it would benefit even further if more public amenities such as toilets, water fountains, and access to shade were implemented. My audit of Coombs scored an overall walkability score of 45 out of 92, indicating moderate walkability. Whilst there are strong assets in terms of access to essential services, green spaces, and public transport, there are some key areas that would benefit from improvement and would improve the overall community's health, social, and mental well-being. These are the references that I use to inform my presentation. Thank you very much for listening to me present about my audit that I conducted in my area of residence, which is Coombs.